everyone! Welcome back again to our YouTube channel, Che and Kevin's Adventures. So this is me, Che. I wanted to talk about something that is really very personal as well as very timely for me. Just wanted to start this off by saying hello, and I'm talking to you from the very beautiful city of Taguig City, and I am actually spending my night in a very spontaneous manner by doing something that I also love doing, that is talking. A quick recap of where we've been during the past months. Kevin and I went to Cebu for our Cebu vacation last year. That was around Q4 of 2021. We've been able to spend time with our families in Cebu. We've also had the chance to visit our friends and go to places in Cebu City, as well as celebrate my papa's birthday last December of 2021. And so Typhoon Odette hit us, and that's when we decided to really return to Manila. We're already here since I think that was December of 2021. So Kevin and I spent our Christmas and our New Year here in Manila. And yeah, but basically we're just back on track already, and everything is back to normal again. If you are someone who has received a ton of cash lately, or if you're someone who are in the middle of deciding on what to do with their cash and their finances currently, or if you're someone that wanted to venture on a lot of things and wanted to be more mature in how you handle your finances, as well as in how you plan or predict your future investments. If you may be someone who has problems lately with your spending and with how you're managing your finances, I think this vlog is for you. And so we are going to talk about this topic, how to not live paycheck per paycheck. And if you're interested in this topic, you can tune in and listen to my tips. Number one is mainly focused on the usage of our credit card. But a lot of us, maybe 9 or 8 out of 10 in every Filipinos out there, has credit cards and are using credit cards in their purchases and how they do buy their stuff or do transactions online. So for credit card related tips that I can give you, I am talking to you on behalf of my personal experience. When you're using a credit card, make sure that you monitor your due dates and pay on time and pay your debts in full. And of course, this may sound very cliche, but before you do purchase something, or if you're planning to buy a gadget or anything that really is gonna affect your financial standing for a long term in a given year, make sure that you are really well prepared for that and you have allocated enough cash for that in the future. It may not be, the cash may not be readily available by now, but it may be something that you can really just pay off on installment basis. But make sure that before you swipe that card and before you really just buy that stuff that you really been eyeing for, make sure that you are financially, emotionally capable to pay off that stuff. For this topic, maybe we can discuss about the pros and the cons of credit card usage. The pros of using a credit card, number one is convenience. It's very reassuring to know that anyone with a credit card can actually just go to the mall, go to the groceries and supermarkets and buy their stuff and buy their foods without actually getting or handing out physical money. Number two is earning reward points. When you do purchase a lot of stuff, it would really just mean that you could also get a lot of freebies, like in the form of charms or in the form of reward points that you can use later on, especially when you have reached a certain bucket of reward points that you can further use maybe on purchasing something or getting a discount or getting vouchers or maybe waiving off your annual fees. Well, these are really helpful because in a way, you are spending something but getting something as well, something in return that you can use in the future. Number 3, easy way to track your expenses. So a lot of us, considering the busy times or the fast-paced environment that we have, don't really have that much of a luxury of time to sit down and track everything that they spend on an everyday basis. The electronic statement of accounts were designed in a way to help us monitor our bills and to help us monitor our purchases, and as well as know whether we've spent so much or we've spent enough or just enough for a given month. Well, electronic statement of accounts would help us be reminded of the things that we purchase on a recurring and non-recurring basis, as well as refer to them in terms of our budgeting whenever we do sit down and do the budgeting that we normally do, in terms of allocating cash in anticipation of the payment due dates that the credit card has set for us. Now, another advantage that we have in using a credit card is, of course, our cooperation in a cashless society. Cashless society is also tantamount to a safe society. So when you don't have cash with you, there's less to zero chance for you to be robbed or to be taken advantage of by people who are actually eyeing on people who have cash with them. Number 5 advantage of using a credit card is the modernized and also the feeling of empowerment that you do feel whenever you use your credit cards, being linked to your purchasing power or to your credit card limit. So when we do have a credit card, our credit limits actually goes up on a certain month or on a certain level, depending on our purchases, depending on our spending behaviors, as well as with the qualifications that the banks have that they normally do monitor to their consumers. So when you have really justified that you're capable of spending this much and as well as paying this much, your credit card limit can go as high as to really something that could just put you in an advantage because you can purchase more and as well as pay for it in a later date. In every advantage is always an disadvantage. So we're now at the cons of CC usage. So number 1 is, of course, our no delayed gratification. So give it some time before you actually say yes to that craving or to that before you give in to whatever you're eyeing for. Using a credit card can also be influenced by our emotions and by our schedules. When you have free time, or when you're bored, or when you're tired, or when you want to splurge and when you want to really just pamper yourself with purchases that you may not realize now that you're not really needing, but you just wanted to have it because you have it in mind, and then later on realize that you've sort of overspent on a specific gadget or a specific stuff or a material because of something that you really have not thought of before buying it. Also, another disadvantage of using a credit card is spending on things and buying things, not really that buying, but really just buying things even when you have not yet earned the money to spend or to pay for that. So we are at this kind of society wherein we are influenced by social media influencers, by people in the society who really urge you to spend and put your money into something, making you realize that you're kind of needing this thing, when in reality you're not really needing it, but you're just influenced to buy it because it's the common trend nowadays, or it's something that everyone has. If you have a credit card, it's very easy to really just go to the mall, go on and buy the thing that everyone is having, and just trusting in yourself that sooner or later you can have the money to really just pay for it. So we are talking about buying something that is very certain versus paying it off with something that is not yet very certain. It may be certain because you're getting it from your salary or any other means or other sources of income, but you don't really hold the future. So there may be other uncertainties that could happen in the long run that could really hinder you to fully pay off everything without incurring debts or incurring charges or incurring something that the bank is going to charge you because of you not paying on time, or worse, if you are not going to pay it really entirely on the given due date. Another con of using a credit card is I deserve this syndrome. So a lot of us, of course, like what I've said in a while ago, are really in this emotion game of really thinking, most especially if we came from long hours of work or long weeks of work, and you are in a very entitled position to really just say to yourself that, like, hey, I think I need to have something new. Hey, I need to spend my stuff. I need to spend my money on this. Hey, I also need to have this because I feel so empowered and I need to pamper myself with it, and I need to like say thank you to myself. Well, it's very normal, but it's what's normal in that is that when it's just within your means. What's not normal in that is when you are caught in the trap of really buying things that you don't really need, but just because you are already in such a situation when you are surrounded by material things in the mall or in the groceries that are really just so tempting but are not really in your list or are not really planned purchases. Another disadvantage of using a credit card is having extravagant purchasing power when you actually don't have one. So that is the worst thing that anyone could feel whenever we are in such an emotional state, or we are in a situation where we felt like considering our credit card limits, our emotional status, and as well as with the things that we've been going through lately at work or in personal, or in the things that we are just like currently having in our lives. Considering that you have a very powerful credit limit, you just feel like you are so empowered and you are so powerful into purchasing things, when actually it's just another marketing scheme. And if we are just to look at it, it's just the credit card companies getting you into loans or getting you into debt, getting your hard-earned money from you. So one disadvantage of using a credit card is falling into credit card scheming schemes. Most especially the card holders do receive these emails or reminders from the banks to be very vigilant in the emails or in the texts or in any calls that we do receive with relation to our credit cards. Most probably, in one way or another, we came across in the social media, we already came across a lot of stories involving credit card scams or fraudulent schemes by the scammers, enabling them to use your credit card for their own advantage, or to say for your disadvantage. And so if we are not very careful in our usage of our credit card, and if we are not very well versed and very well educated with how to properly use and how to properly behave whenever we do have a credit card, and how to really just be vigilant on the things that are surrounding or are prevalent to this credit card world, we are very vulnerable to these credit card schemes. Number 2 tip on how to not live paycheck per paycheck is to set a realistic and conservative budget and stick to it. I personally do not believe on taking chances whenever we do spend, or when we do make our financial decisions. So I personally, I'm always bounded by the fact that I need to have a strong budget and a updated budget and a working budget in order for me to properly function as a paying individual or as someone who should be financially responsible of my actions. And by that, what I do is I always update my budgeting tools from time to time. And of course, before I do, and of course, aligned with having a budget and having budgeting tools helping me to make informed decisions and to make very wise decisions, I need to stick to them, and I need to be very strict to my discipline and to really act on my financial decisions and make sure that I do not make any mistake that is foreseeable or maybe just can be preventive, and as far as I know would be preventive by me. So how do we set a realistic and a conservative budget? Number one, you determine your needs, your wants, and earning power. How impactful are your purchases? You need to know what you can afford, why you can afford that, and what are your wants, what are your needs, and make sure that the line between the needs and the wants is really so evident that in turn would make you realize that whenever you're in a situation wherein you are about to purchase something, you can readily judge by yourself if this is something that you really need, or if maybe just something that you may just want and may not be needing really in the truest sense. Another way that you can be effective on this tip is know your limits and don't go overboard. So what do we mean by going overboard? So it doesn't mean that whenever you have peer pressures or whenever you are influenced by the social media, it doesn't mean that when one friend or one colleague or one acquaintance have already has purchased or has done this, it would also mean that you can also do the same thing, because you need to ensure that your budget or your budgeting tools would really be very customized in such a way that can really help you. It's very important to know what you can buy and what you can't buy. Well, it doesn't mean that when you say you can't buy, you really cannot just like buy it, but you need to really just to realize that even if you do really push yourself to the limit and you really go on and buy and purchase that stuff, you need to understand the emotional and the financial consequence that you are about to face in the future because of that financial decision that you just made. Another thing that you can also do is to see what you can splurge on and what you can cut off from the list and trim down when you can. We are at this point of our lives wherein we really just we really know what we're needing and why we're needing them, be it something that can really help you pursue your hobbies, or it may be something that can really just elevate your status to a higher degree, or it may be something that you've been eyeing to purchase because it's something that you haven't really purchased all your life. Well, there's a lot of reasons why a person really do purchase something or experience or spend on something. So it may be it may be based from very historical data way back from your childhood. So there are a lot of things, a lot of reasons why we do purchase things and we spend on certain stuff in our lives or certain experience in our lives. Well, you need to know, if you can, always devote a time in your day or in your week where you can sit down and list down the things that are making you happy, and whenever you can, just cross out and just retain those things that really are just like so impactful to you, that whenever you have them or whenever you do spend on them would really make a great impact on your lives. Another truth that we need to face is that budgets vary. You have to modify your budget according to one's state, considering that we just had this pandemic and it's currently just still ongoing at the very moment. So we're still in this pandemic, so a lot of things have changed. A lot of economic status have changed. So you need to take into consideration your job, your pay, how much you're really needing in a given month to really just survive, what you're really spending on, the groups that you're supporting, the family or the extended family that you're really helping, and a lot of maybe foundations or any causes that you're into, that you're really focusing on by the use of your money. So you need to consider those. You need to prioritize as well, not just the current status of your life, but as well as the coming months of your lives, the coming months, the coming years of your lives, considering that there's the only certain in this world of course is of course change. So you need to equip yourself in as much as you can, what you can do, what you can control at the moment, in order for you to be prepared on the future whenever there are certain hiccups or really certain uncertainties that are really just unfold in your life. And last but not the least, in order to have a working and a very reliable budget, is to have a lifestyle check. You may be someone who is an indoor type, or someone who is a homebody who doesn't really need to go out every now and then, or you may be someone who gets their happiness whenever they do go out and visit a country, visit an island, or do something extravagant, or check into a hotel, or buy branded bags, or buy branded shoes, or buy jewelry. So there's so many kind of lifestyles that anyone can really just have. But if we are to really just look into our own self and to have a reflection, we need to understand what kind of a lifestyle do we really want. Do we really want to have a simple lifestyle? If yes, then that's quite very okay. Then that's very okay. So along with having a very simple lifestyle, you also need to have a simple budget, and of course there's many rooms for you to really save on and invest your money to more to wiser stuff. So if we are on the other edge of the spectrum, when you have a very extravagant lifestyle, so if you're someone that really finds her or his happiness into spending, or to really having luxurious stuff, then you need to really reevaluate your finances and maybe reassess if there's a need for you to really look for other possibilities for you to have extra income, or to have other sources of income. It may be passive or active income, sources of income, in order for you to sustain that kind of lifestyle. There are a lot of expenses that we really need to spend on, considering adulting and a lot of financial decisions that we have to make in our lives. So our number 3 tip would be attributable to this. You need to have buffers. Personally, for me, I do believe in making buffers, and by buffers, by definitions, are really just like over allocation of something for a specific expense. So what kind of expenses are buffers really useful? Do really become useful? So it could be amortizations of your condos, or your house and lot purchases, or it could be because of your insurance, or anticipating groceries, large groceries in the future when there's really a need for you to feed on certain people, or a big family in the future. And of course, your savings. You need to ensure that there's really a chance for you to really just cover up those kind of expenses, even if you don't have that kind of income in a given month, because you have already spared, or you have already allocated certain amounts of money for your buffers. So I can say, in my own personal experience, a safe measurement of what a good buffer is really 3 months worth of those kind of budgets. So if you have, for example, if you are spending on a condominium amortization for, let's just say 20,000 per month, if should there be any emergencies, or should you be on maternity leave and should you be somewhere else that will not enable you to work and to have your regular stream of incomes, make sure that you have at least 60,000 pesos to cover up for that amortization, because that's just one thing that is very certain in our lives, our amortizations. No matter what happens to us, no matter how the economy is gonna perform, or no matter what kind of pandemic is going to arrive to our country, the only certain things are our payables and of course our amortizations, because we have of course linked ourselves, our signatures and our promises and our contracts to it, so that it's a very mature and in a very financial literate manner to ensure that you can cover up for those expenses even if the economy or the time does not permit you to do so. So along with having a working buffer and an effective buffer, you should not spend your buffer unless the situation warrants you to do so. And if you are being left with no choice but to spend it and to use it to something that is very emergency today, or that is something that is very important and urgent nowadays, or in the very moment, make sure that you have an arrangement to yourself and your budgeting tools and your budgeting and your financial world to really set a specific time of your life that you will be able to repay that buffer in a specific you need to assess as well as your capability on how and where and how long you can repay it. But one thing is for sure, you need to ensure that you will be able to repay those buffers. So what are the advantages of you having buffers or allowances of your spending or the things that you usually spend on? So it gives you a feeling of control of your state of living, most especially when you do a lifestyle check, or when you really just have a sanity check on where you're at this point of your lives. And when you do have these buffers, it feels like just so empowered, because knowing that you have quite enough of a money to really spend on things even when there are emergencies, or there are uncertain things in your life that's going to happen sometime in the future. And it also eradicates the fear of having unnecessary borrowing, or also unnecessary borrowing with loan sharks or people who can only just take advantage of your situation at the moment. Another reason why it is very important for you to have buffers is that you need to really guard and protect your mental health. You have this kind of mental well-being when you have buffers, because you know that you are covered even if something undesirable happens to you in the future. So another reason why it is advantageous for you to have a buffer is that it teaches you discipline, it teaches you control, and of course accountability. When you have a buffer, you are in control of yourself, and you know that whatever you're spending on, or whatever financial decision you are having for yourself, is something that you have really thought of 1,000,000 or 1,000 or 100 times before you have really done it. So you just like feel like you are a very effective adult, and you have really just made something, you have made a favor to yourself by being financially prepared and financially capable of really answering your expenses and covering up for your debts or for your responsibilities, because you have already prepared for them through your buffers. So we have reached the fourth tip that I can share to you in order for you to not live paycheck for paycheck. Number 4 tip is to live according to your means. So live according to your means, and be conscious and always track your spending. So this would just like sum up more of like the things that I have mentioned a while ago, but basically we're already talking about your discipline, as well as your financial standing, as well as your financial capabilities, as well as your purchasing power, as well as your lifestyle checks. So there are a lot of things that you really need to weigh on before you can really assess that you already have this kind of discipline and maturity, and of course that you really have this monitoring skills and budgeting skills that are very important for one to be able to succeed in this kind of consumer spending kind of role. And now we've reached the fifth but not the least tip for you in order to not live paycheck per paycheck. Number 5 is something that I've like reserved for the fifth and the last spot, but I really could say that is very important. Never do something or never purchase something out of your emotions, due to your emotions, or when you're emotionally driven or you're emotionally empowered by yourself to purchase something. Make sure that before you do purchase, you're well rested, or you have already consulted a lot of people who have already purchased this stuff, or if you have a financial consultant, or if you have an accountant, make sure you have also considered talking to these people, or if you have very well-versed people, financially well-versed people, you've also had a chat with them and made sure that you've also confided and consulted your plan to do this kind of decisions in your life. Because whenever you have done your research and when you have prepared yourself to do this kind of financial responsibilities or financial actions before committing into something, you are in the road to really knowing that whatever your decision is going to be something that is going to work on an advantageous manner for yourself, and would not put you on risks and would not put you on unhealthy risks and regrets in the future. So that's just about it, and I'm just like quite very pumped and very happy to share to you those tips that I have personally applied for myself, and I've really like thought of and really have applied and have found out to be very effective for me. So just a disclaimer, our budgeting schemes, our financial literacy is really just it's not a one size fits all. So there's a lot of things that we really have to consider, considering our lifestyle and our responsibilities, our duties, as well as our wants and our needs. So all of these things are to be considered whenever we are to set our mind onto something, and of course in ensuring that we don't really just depend on our salary every 15th of the month or every 30th of the month in order for us to live and to survive each and every single day of our lives. Well, basically that's just it, and thank you so much for listening to my vlog. I hope you were able to get or grasp something tonight for my financial literacy session for you. So that's going to be it. If you have any specific topic or financial topic that you would want to be discussed on this channel, please do let me know, and let me know your comments or any other tips that were also effective for you that may be helpful for others as well. And if you like this video, give it a like, and you can comment down below, subscribe to our channel, and of course thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in our next videos. Bye.